Ladies and gentlemen, get strapped in because we got a heck of a show for you. Welcome on inside the huddle. It is our UFL post-game show. I'm your host, as always, Lucas Hill. We're breaking down everything UFL today. And boys and girls, you do not want to miss anything that we have to talk about today. But guys, before we continue on, everybody do us a favor. Make sure that you like, you share, and you subscribe as we get started on this amazing episode that we have planned out for you, recapping all things that happened today in the UFL and beyond. So everybody do us a favor. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and share button, hit the subscribe. Make sure you turn on those bell notifications so that because we do go live on a pretty regular basis. I know we have been absent the last couple of weeks. I know you guys have been kind of wondering, like, oh, why don't I post every now and then? Guys, I have a life. Remember, I'm a college kid. But anyways, guys, if you're watching us on our main platform X, make sure you give that hit that retweet, hit that like button. Make sure you post it all those friend groups and say Lucas Hill is live. If you're watching us on Instagram, give us a comment and make sure you like and share as well. Every post-game show is brought to you by our good friends at vocalbreaks.com. Make sure you go on over to vocalbreaks.com. Use code LucasHill10 for 10% off of your monthly subscription when you use the best when it comes to audio technology for all things of whether you're a music producer, DJ, or just a simple podcaster like me. Use vocalbreaks.com. Use that discount code LucasHill10. Also want to thank our sponsors over at Hero Soap Company. Hero Soap Company is a great company. We are proud to have partnered with them last week, and we are excited to bring forth more around that brand. Visit herosoapcompany.com, and when you go to the checkout, use that promo code Huddle Up and get yourself a nice 10% discount when you use that code Huddle Up. A lot to break down tonight. So let's start off with earlier of today's action, which, again, I thought was going to be the game of the week, of the weekend, I should say, in the UFL. But to say I was disappointed is kind of an understatement. But I will say this. St. Louis, you continue to prove me right about you having the best fan base in all of the UFL. It's not any surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise because it is the best fan base that you have right now. And this is nothing against the other brands. This is nothing against the what do you mean? The Birminghams or the the Arlingtons or the DCs of the world. Guys, that is just the simple truth. You have the UFL is thriving because of St. Louis, and it showed out tonight. We had the cacaws, we had the chicken hats, we had some dude getting slapped across the face. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, what is better than that? I mean, come on. Just take a look at this. I mean, when I tell you that there is no other league that's like the UFL that does things like this, it is incredible. Guys, let me tell you, how many how do I say this? How many fans do you see getting willfully slapped in the face and then screaming along with it? Wow. Yes, you went viral tonight, my friend. I mean, what do you see from that? But let's get to the football aspect of things, and let's talk about this game, because this was really one that was won after the first quarter ended. So let's kind of break it all down for a little bit, guys, before we kind of get into the final live stats. We'll get the official drive charts and stuff tomorrow. But I cannot wait to get all those. So, anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get into all of this because it's worth mentioning. Just all that we saw today from UFL action. So let's talk about St. Louis and San Antonio to start off with today. We talked about how San Antonio's biggest problem was just simply being unable to get anything done on the offensive side of the ball. And I thought going on the road to a team like St. Louis would be another challenging task. I thought week 1 going up against Arlington, I thought it was just a fluke. I thought Kellen Mond was still a good quarterback. And I thought this offense would be just fine. I was incorrect. I was wrong once again. This Brahma's offense is just non-existent at this point. I mean, Kellen Mond is pressured on a consistent basis. He just cannot get anything going. And that's just the bottom line, guys. 13 to 27, $129 and an interception, 48% completion rate, unacceptable. And you couldn't have that. And that's exactly what happened today is your inability to get anything going on the offensive side of the ball is just incredible. San Antonio, I mean, there's really not a whole lot you could say. 223 yards of offense today. I think last week you had what? I think near the same amount too. And I think that you could have had more. Guys, you've averaged 9 points. You've had 18 points your first 2 games. You cannot win in the UFL with an offense that is almost non-existent like what San Antonio has right now. So if I'm San Antonio, I'm getting my running game involved because Kellen Mond can't do it through the air. Your offensive line just is not good enough to give him time. You don't have the overall drive to get it. Guys, you had 240 yards last week. You had 223 today. I think you're probably the second or third worst team in the UFL right now. And guys, I'm about to have my power rankings for the UFL in literally a few minutes. While we go on break, I'm coming up with my power rankings right now. But anyways, guys, you can't have that if you're San Antonio. Wade Phillips has to go into the locker room when they get back to San Antonio on Monday. Guys, you got to have a heart-to-heart because your offense is anemic. It's almost laughable to watch. And we're seeing big plays. Anthony McFarland, Joshon Corbin having some big runs. But yet you go away from them and you piss down your leg on 2nd and 3rd down and you get behind the sticks. You had no run game because you could not convert on second. You couldn't get anything going from your offensive line. That's the bottom line. You're 5 of 13 on 3rd down. You can't accept that as an offense. 11 first downs and 10 penalties that killed you. It's incredible that you even got anything because of that. But I do want to go to the second quarter and briefly talked about this because I think that was one that really, really killed you. I thought it was a game I thought that was a drive that you got destroyed in that one. So first quarter comes and goes. You have a decent start because you were able to get big plays. You know, you got your playmakers involved. You know, you have a 3rd and 6 at the 40-yard line, and you end up getting knocked out of field goal range because you can't set up in max protection on 3rd and 6. Guys, St. Louis's defense is really good. You saw them last week, but I think you saw Anthony Beck's defense really turn it up a notch. That type of defense just goes to show you what type of talent they have all across the field and just how good they can be. So you end up going to first down. San Antonio's defense steps up. You end up getting a big 3 and out. You get the football right back. You don't do anything. Back and forth. Then finally, Rodrigo Blankenship nails a 45-yarder after a 8-play, 59-yard drive. And literally, it was Manny Wilkins throwing dots across the field. But the same thing happened last week against Houston. When the pocket broke down, Manny Wilkins was able to use his feet and make plays. That's the bottom line, guys. And look, St. Louis shot themselves in the foot a couple times themselves, just like what happened last week, but it didn't matter because they were able to take advantage of it. Especially when the pocket broke down, it didn't matter because Manny Wilkins was able to step up and make a play. That is the bottom line, guys. If you're able to create opportunities ahead, then you're going to have a lot of success in the middle, a lot of success being able to just run, just use your legs, especially as a quarterback. And as mobile as Manny Wilkins is, in pass pro, you have to maintain quarterback depth. I saw a lot of over rushes today from San Antonio. And even from the interior, it's just gap integrity that was not kept. It goes for pass rushing too. You know, everybody talks about, run gap. You got to fill your gaps when you got to run, when you run fit. The same goes for pass rush. If you start to get to a point where you're going to be outside quarterback depth, you got to find a way to close down the pocket. You never saw that from San Antonio whatsoever today. And that's what Manny Wilkins has done so well so far this season, is use his legs and his ability to run the football and really beat teams. That's what happened last week, and that's what happened today. So it ends up leading to Jacob Sailors, who, by the way, monster night tonight. But on a play where it's 3rd and 5 at the San Antonio 22, there's a false start, and then you try to go to Ja'Cour Pearson, incomplete. Rodrigo Blankenship nails the field goal. So now you go give it right back to San Antonio, and this is where I was starting to notice the flaws. So I think what they work best on is going high tempo, high speed offense. And this is the time where you have to go, because I know Kellen and Mon kept checking into NASCAR. You kept hearing NASCAR check, NASCAR, NASCAR, NASCAR. What NASCAR means, guys, is that you're going speed. You're going no huddle. You're going quick to the line of scrimmage. I'm yelling. I'm giving you the play at the line. I'm yelling the protection. I'm going to my receivers. I'm giving you different routes. I'm giving you different reads to look forward, to look to, and giving you the type of protection to your offensive line and audibling if need be. You're getting the play through the headset and you're audibling out to your line. That's what you should have done. And I think they started to do that near the end of the second quarter, but it was just a disaster. There was no function whatsoever. And you started to see a little bit of that, but you just could not get any sort of consistency from San Antonio. So boom, you end up having to punt the football. That's the end of the first quarter. You go to the second. By the way, Brad Wing has been unbelievable when it comes to punting the football. And that's what a 5-year NFL vet can do, which I thought he could have been in there longer, but I think it's whatever. And this is where the Manny Wilkins show really took over. And I thought this is where the game essentially was over from here. Manny Wilkins rushing right for 18 yards. Could have been a pat on that first run. In your guys' opinion, do you think it could have been a late hit out of bounds? To me, no, because the receiver ended up pushing your defender into Manny Wilkins, and he ended up basically catching a little friendly fire at the end of the play. But anyways, doesn't matter from there. But one thing that San Antonio did was this. I'll demonstrate a little bit because defensive ends a little bit. So if you're a quarterback on read option, actually, I'll just pull it up on the board and really kind of look at this for a little bit. I'm trying to I'll see if they have the play. But we'll see. I don't know if they do have it, but we'll see. Trying to find it if it is on here. No, I don't see it anyways, guys. It doesn't matter from there. But anyways, as a defensive end, on read options, and if you don't have a puller coming your way, if your tackle is blocking down on you, which means, let me pull it up on my board right here. See if I can get this one for a little bit, guys. Anyway, I'm not worried about this right now. But so a down block is basically when my tackle is going to go climb up the second level, kind of pinch off of a defensive tackle, and he's going to go straight up to that linebacker, or he's going to double team. He's going to get a duo call, which is a duo. You're going to get a double team on that defensive tackle. You're going to both block him at the same time. So that leaves a defensive end free. Usually you'd have a pulling guard or a pulling tackle come your way, or a tight end that's going to come across the formation and try to kick you out. But if that's not the case, you're reading quarterback's eyes the entire time. The end got way too far in squeezing down and basically gave up a ton of space for Manny Wilkins to run the football. No help from the safety coming down because you're isolated one-on-one with a receiver who gets a great block. I think Ja'Cour Pearson was there too. But anyway, Mosley ends up pushing him out of bounds. Then there's a penalty there by Williams. I don't remember who it was, but it was Williams. But that was just a stupid rough in the passer that you do. The ball is clearly released. He's standing there, and then boom, he gets shoved to the ground. I mean, come on. So 15 yards, forget the 11-yard. We'll take 15, and we're going to go take that one and give ourselves a first down. Couple runs. Boom, 3rd and 4. Denzel Mims gets the catch in the middle of the field, gets to the first down. Manny Wilkins rushing right. For nothing. Darius Phillips get with another catch. And then, look, Jacob Sailors, have a UFL season, dude. I think you've had 5 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of the UFL season. You have more than 4 UFL teams combined. That's incredible. 2-point conversion attempt is good. Jacob Sailors gets in. So, once again, finally, Kellen Mond gets a couple of big plays. Gracie McMath makes an impressive one-handed catch. But again, nothing. What I thought, 3rd and 12, big PBU by Chris Payton-Jones goes nowhere. Next drive on this one. This was the money drive for San Antonio that really sealed the deal. Jacob, so you get it's 1st and 10 at the St. Louis 22. Manny Wilkins threw a beautiful ball to Greg Jennings on an even better route. Gets all the way inside the red zone. Jacob Sailors up the middle for 3. Loses a yard. Then Manny Wilkins scrambles. This is where the game took a turn for the worse for San Antonio, which is one I think where the floodgates just opened and you knew the game was over after this one. You get pushed out of bounds by Corey Mayfield, who, by the way, this ends up happening. So this was the penalty that happened that really, and I thought that this was one that, in my defense, I understand, but I think at the same time, guys, you got to be better. You got to be more disciplined than this. I understand there was a little bit of contact too, but guys, this was nasty. This was incredible. Bam! Get off of me. I know we taunted a little bit, but this is where things took a turn. Punches the football out, pushes him off, and there comes the flag. So that turned the game around for San Antonio, or for St. Louis. You're about to get off the field, by the way, and force a field goal. And you lose control of your emotions in that point, and you end up costing yourself more field position. Now it leads to first down. Jacob Sailors goes nowhere and loses about 7. Manny Wilkins gets about 7 of that back. And then there was a potential foul on the play for a hold. Ends up getting declined. Jacob Sailors doesn't go anywhere. Bam, there's another offsides penalty. We repeat third down. Then he gets across the line of scrimmage. He fumbles the football up. It looked to be that it was going to be recovered by San Antonio. But after reviewing, Sailors put the football over the goal line, maintain possession, dead ball, touchdown, St. Louis leads. Now it's a 17-point game. Look for Greg Jennings a game. So now it is a 2-possession game, but St. Louis had to get something going. But you finally did. Got inside the 15. Big play out to Jacob Harris for 30. So you get 1st and 10. Josh Corbin right up the middle for 2. And then back-to-back incompletions, and basically go into the half with just a 17-3 deficit. But, man, I mean, that was probably the best drive of the season. Or, yeah, probably the best drive of the game for San Antonio. But I don't know if you had to give it right back to St. Louis. Yeah, you got to give it right back to St. Louis. By the way, shout out Destroying with his 2nd field goal of the year. Big one for him. Another great drive, by the way. And look, we talked about time of possession and how dominant they have been in time of possession. And you saw what St. Louis does so well, is control the football and control the game. That is exactly what you needed. All right. So let's talk about the third quarter. So let's talk about this. It's 3rd and long has been, bottom line, 3rd down has just been money down for St. Louis. And they have been so well. I think they're one of the best in the UFL through 2 weeks in 3rd down conversions. Ja'Cour Pearson, a couple bit with his first rush, gets 8. Howard gets about 5. Jarvion Howard. By the way, Jarvion Howard, the guy that had over 100 yards last week, only 6 carries today, but again, got to get your guys the football. Hell of a game, though, for him. Jacob Sailors deserves it. Manny Wilkins stepping back, boom, gets sacked. Big play. And then Jarvion Howard goes nowhere, gets pushed out of bounds. There's a holding penalty. Now it's 2nd and 27. Ja'Cour Pearson gets 11. 3rd and 16. Boom, going all the way down the field. For Blake Jackson, first big catch of the game for him, and the only big catch of the game for him, but gave him a first down at San Antonio's 37. Another 3rd down conversion, boom, out to Jacob Sailors, gets the first down. Another 3rd down conversion. I think they had 3 3rd down conversions. You were 3 for 3 on that drive. First down and goal, Jacob Sailors, another touchdown. Doesn't get the 1-point conversion, so now you got a 3-possession game. But in comes the Brahmas. Finally, you get a big possession. Jontre Kirkland gets a big return. Anthony McFarland starts off right, gets you down to the St. Louis 31 after starting off at your own 47. You get to the 25, Jontre Kirkland getting him stopped a yard short. And then Josh Corbin runs right up the middle for a touchdown. 2-point conversion, trying to get it to a 12-point game. No good. So it's 23 now. It's still a 2-possession game, bottom line. You've made it that. Boom, you get a 3 and out. What does San Antonio do the very next play? Boom, you get picked off by BK Sebastian. So that was the whole game. Shooting yourself in the foot. That's what happened last week with Houston, and it's almost like deja vu. As soon as Houston got a little bit of momentum, shot themselves in the foot. And that's exactly what San Antonio did today. So you start off at the San Antonio 36. You get 2nd and 6. Try to go to Greg Jennings. St. Louis challenges the play. It gets overturned, so now there's defensive pass interference. Now you get it at the San Antonio 17. Now you're at the 7-yard line. Now you're about to go up pretty big now. It's 23-9. Now you go to the 4th quarter. This one, I thought that you had a lot of opportunities to score because I think you had basically dang near 8 plays inside the red zone and you didn't score a touchdown. That was incredible to me. But that's a credit to San Antonio's defense. And as bad as they played in the first half, they got much better in the second half. But again, when you have an anemic offense that did nothing for you all game long, that's basically what's going to happen to you. But Rodrigo Blankenship would end up making it a 26-9 game, and that would essentially be the rest of the game. Max Duggan would come in, get some quality reps. Other than that, that's really about it. Got to go over to our Instagram. Had about 5 of you join in. I just realized this. But that's the game, guys. That's the bottom line. Is that you have had so many opportunities to go down the field and score. You just did not do a thing to solidify yourself as a contender. I thought this year was going to be one that San Antonio was going to have a rebirth year, but the effects of losing the UFL championship last year, it still stings. I can tell it does, and it's not feeling good for San Antonio at this current moment. Guys, where are you at as a team right now? That's what you need to find out. If you don't find out where you are, you're going to put yourself in a bind. So I don't know what you want to do with your team. But you better find out where this team's identity is, or else you're going to be very, very screwed for the rest of the season. you may end up putting yourself in more in limbo as the rest of the season goes on. Okay, so we're going down and up. We're going to our first game of today. Houston taking on Arlington. This one was back and forth all day long. But before we get into that, guys, I need a drink. I'm going to go get a little drink. We'll get to the rest of this. Be right back in just a minute. We'll hear from our sponsors and give them a little information on our products.
Are you a music producer, DJ, or just someone who loves to remix tracks? Well, say goodbye to messy, low-quality track separations and hello to vocalbreaks.com, the most powerful AI-driven music editing tool on the market. Unlike other separation tools, Vocal Breaks harnesses the most advanced AI model available, delivering crystal clear vocals, pristine instrumentals, and an unmatched precision, all online with no software required. You can extract vocals or instrumentals with studio quality accuracy. It's perfect for remixes, mashups, karaoke, and music production, and for a faster, cleaner, and more reliable than any other service. So if you want the best, don't settle for less. Go on over to vocalbreaks.com and use code LucasHill10 now and experience the full future of AI-powered music editing. That's vocalbreaks.com using code LucasHill10.
Elevate your daily routine with the Hero Soap Company, a veteran-owned business dedicated to crafting high-quality, natural soaps right here in the U.S. of A. Each bar is handmade in Phoenix, Arizona, using premium natural ingredients sourced from American companies, ensuring a product that's both effective and environmentally conscious. With invigorating scents like peppermint and tea tree and soothing blends like lavender, there is a perfect match for everyone. But Hero Soap Company is more than just great soap. A portion of every sale is donated to charities supporting veterans and first responders, helping to give back to those who serve our communities. So visit our good friends at herosoapcompany.com today and use promo code HUDDLEUP to receive 10% off of your first purchase. Hero Soap Company, let freedom clean. All right. Let's talk attendance for the first few games. So I talked with Mike Mitchell, and he posted a little bit about all of this. So the official fan attendance from week 2, significant increase. DC had, I think, 7,000 out there last week. Guys, you doubled that. 13,000 out in DC, which I thought was impressive. Arlington had 9,500 out there. Michigan had 10,000 out at Ford Field. St. Louis, what'd I tell you? I told you guys out on Monday that St. Louis and San Antonio would have the best atmosphere. 32,000 showed up. I mean, you can't ask for anything else better than that. So I thought it was really, really impressive seeing that there was just so much that improved from last week in the UFL. I know it was primarily due to St. Louis and the crowd that they generate out at the Dome. But regardless of that, guys, impressive showing, impressive numbers, nothing better than what we just saw today. But let's talk Houston and Arlington today. Guys, I think I was right. So Luis Perez came out and showed out a little bit today. So we talked about last week, Kalen Balaj had a big game. But this time it was none other than Luis Perez who had the big showing out today. Him, Isaiah Weinstead, all were amazing today, but tight ball game. Very, very, very tight ball game. And to be honest with you, I could have seen this coming. But it didn't look like that for initially. So let's start off with the first drive. So Arlington starts it off. Bam, you get a 3 and out. Luis Perez doesn't do much. You only get about a yard out of it at most. So this was basically a defensive slugfest from start to finish. Luis Perez gets a few big throws down the field. Gets down 3-0 all the way at the end of the first quarter. I will say this, Anthony Brown looked a bit better, but I'll be honest, guys, he just could not run the offense consistently enough. Just to be honest with you guys. I will say, let him down the field to a big field goal. Chris Blewett got him a field goal, so now it's 3-3. Going into halftime, we got a ball game. If Houston could have pulled off this upset after the disaster that they put on display in the home opener, wow, I was going to be impressed. I was there. There was no way that you would have thought that this would have happened. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Biggest one of that one, Houston shooting themselves in the foot once again. You get a big stop where you force a fumble, huge hit by Corey Elder, ends up recovering the fumble, gets all the way down to the Houston 49, and now Houston's got the football. The very next play after that, Anthony Brown has an interception. But doesn't matter because you have a turnover on downs. Houston's defense has a big play. You get to the Arlington 34, and then you get pushed out of field goal range after you get sacked and lose 11 yards. That's the bottom line, guys. So here begins the drive that basically sealed the deal for Arlington. It was just play after play after play. You start off at the Arlington 8. You're basically at the Arlington 6, by the way. Isaiah Weinstead gets a big catch. Gets down the field for 21 yards. Gets to the Arlington 27. That's the end of the third quarter. So you go into quarter number 4. For a big first down. Luis Perez out to Damon Burnett. Corey Richardson stops him at the Houston 24, methodically moving down the field. Looked really, really good. 3rd and goal from the Houston, or 3rd and 6 actually, because it was still had a 5 yards to get to the end zone. Boom. Luis Perez down the field to Damon Burnett. Touchdown. Boom. 2-point conversion to Burnett yet again. Arlington with an 11-3 lead. Now you go on to the very next drive. What can Anthony Brown and company do? Well, it's Nolan Henderson's team now because Anthony Brown still, like we mentioned, can't run the offense. So Nolan Henderson doesn't do anything. He scrambles out. It's 4th and 5 from your own 28. but you know how good they've been able to do. And then Marquette King ends up punting into the Houston 28. Yet again, you exchange punts. Now it's basically down to the final possession for Houston. Anthony Brown back in the game. Couple of incompletions. Down the field on 4th and 3. Chisholm gets the football for 20 yards. Pushed out of bounds. Anthony Brown over the middle, complete to Jeremy Hall. Out to, God dog it, what is his name? To Justin Hall for 11. Zamir White for 12. Big play to Eric Butler. It's an 11-9 game. The 2-point conversion descended into OT. Anthony Brown stopped a yard short. So now you get 4th and 12. Incomplete, intended for Eric Butler. And now Luis Perez kneels out the clock. Huge, huge, huge survival win for Houston, for Arlington. Tight ball game all the way through. But again, execution was just non-existent for Houston. Again, you got to Luis Perez and you made plays. Your defense played a lot better than it did yesterday. But the problem is that your offense was still anemic. Anthony Brown just couldn't get any drives going. And look, your quarterback room is just, it's not there. I don't think you're giving Nolan Henderson a chance, but I will say, how about the last drive for Anthony Brown? What an impressive drive that he showed. And I think that's why guys like that is why they got him in the first place, because he's able to make plays like that. But I do think that there's still problems with the quarterback position. So my final takeaway on this one is this. Find a guy. If you're Houston, you got to find a guy. Arlington, by the way, you got to be able to execute better. That was not you. Your offense was just, where was the run game? Kalen Ballage and Day Hunter, 26 carries. One had 63, one had 38. You had 100 yards rushing. You averaged just under 4 yards a carry. You know, you got to spread the football around too. But other than that, I mean, guys, you got to be able to be consistent on the offensive side of the ball. All right, let's go to the game net on Friday, DC and Memphis. What a come-from-behind win by DC. 12-9. And Jordan Tiamu. Let's just be honest. I wasn't impressed with Jordan Tiamu last week. I'm still not impressed. I think DC's defense is just really, really amazing. I think they did really good with all the crap that they had. You force only 2 3-and-outs, 5 of 11 on third down for Memphis. Overall total yards, 308 yards of total offense. You still gave up between EJ Perry. I didn't know Jacob Kabadi was with Memphis. That was interesting. EJ Perry took the only snaps today. Did really well. 18 to 28, 205. I thought we would have seen more of Troy Williams today, but I guess not. I guess he was hurt or something like that. Kind of shocked that he was, but a year after, 1 week after you get 8 sacks, he had 0 today. 0. And I think that was just because of how Birmingham's offensive line was and what Alex Magoo was doing. You weren't dealing with a rushing quarterback like what Magoo is. EJ Perry is not one to get out of the pocket. He's one that's a pure pocket passer, one that's not going to do so much whenever he is in the pocket himself. But I do think that there's a lot that needs to be said about this. And I think that there is still a lot to be expected of this Houston offense, or not of this Houston offense, but of this DC offense, or of this Memphis offense that we just haven't seen yet. I think last week you saw a good bit of it, and then just mistake after mistake after mistake, it just killed you. You know, you didn't get to EJ Perry once. But I will say this, your defensive line did very well. I think DeAndre Baker is going to be a star in the UFL. I think he's going to get himself back in the NFL. Would not surprise me if he does. But again, big plays were made at the end of this game. Big plays that basically gave you opportunities near the end that won you the football game. And that is basically what's going to do it for you. You know, I to sit here and say that DC is 2-0 right now and they played well is not really that much of an understatement. It's when you look at the product on the field, it's not that impressive. Jordan Tiamu is not that great of a quarterback. You've gotten great plays because of what your defense has done. You've been able to get off the field because of that. And I'll give DC credit where credit is due. Their offensive line has played really well. So in comes the drive after. You go on a 12-play, 44-yard drive, Memphis does. You eat up you get dang near, you go under the 2-minute warning, try to go to the end zone, and then boom, your kick gets blocked, prevents it from being a 2-point ball game, and a couple of laterals, doesn't work out for you. Huge win. Huge win at the end of the game, bros. But that's it, guys. I mean, there's nothing really else I could say about this. Abram Smith, 16 for 55. Deion Jackson, guys, 32 carries, 119 yards. Not that impressive. Jordan Tiamu, not a lot of big plays. But Jonathan Adams is going to be the leading. I told you last week about how good Jonathan Adams can be. And Jonathan Adams is one of those guys that you just cannot leave isolated on an island, because he will make big plays and he will torture you with these big plays. And that's exactly what happened today. That's where the majority of your success came, was when you got the football to Jonathan Adams. That's what you needed to do all game long. So in my case, by the way, Jonathan Adams is my UFL Offensive Player of the Week. I know it was in a loss, but still, to put up a game like that and you really dominate and really keep your team in the game because of big plays, you deserve it. You absolutely deserve the win. And so I continue to believe that at the end of it all, I still love Jonathan Adams as my UFL Defensive Player of the Week. Michigan, Birmingham. First game of the season. Birmingham coming off of a shocking loss. In comes Matt Corral to come in the game. And he didn't play that great. 2 picks against Michigan. Look, Michigan's defense, we talked about it, really, really good. 271 to 252 in total offensive plays, total offensive yards. You had 6 off of turnovers, though. That's the biggest thing that Birmingham was able to get off of the turnovers. Guys, Birmingham's offense just was not able to get going whenever it came to this. And Bradley Anai is going to be my defensive player of the week, despite all that. 2 sacks and 2 tackles. I mean, impressive game so far. Continue to show out. Guys, he is a monster off the edge. He's a monster. We know all about Willie Yarby and what he did in a win, actually. Michigan. One of the things that they did last week was put pressure. And you didn't see that. Where was Rondell Carter? Where was Breland Speaks had 2 TFLs? You just didn't really see the same consistency, though. And that's what Matt Corral in this offense was able to do. Is just make big plays at the end of the day to solidify it, another big win. So, hell of a comeback win for that Birmingham team to come across and really, really take advantage of it. So you started off with Alex Magoo in at quarterback, and then you ended up taking him out and putting in Matt Corral, which honestly you expected. In my opinion, by the way, guys, Bryce Perkins needs to be starting over Danny Etling. There's just too much skill involved for Danny Etling to be starting. I think Bryce Perkins is going to be your starter for the rest of the year. I know he didn't play that great, but when he gets elusive, guys, out of the pocket, he's really good. I think when he utilizes his feet, he can be a really dangerous target and really be a threat coming across the corner. That's just my own personal opinion. So that's really about it from what I have for them. But I will say, you have a lot of things to do on offense if you're Birmingham. You got to limit the turnovers. I think next week is going to be an eye-opener for you when you play Arlington. At least I think that's who you play. In your home opener, which I'm hoping to be in attendance for. It's going to be a really fun one. But again, you got to be able to separate yourself from everything. Yeah, you'll play Arlington back at Protective. And then, look, that Week 8 game against St. Louis, that's a big one, guys. That's one a lot of people need to pay attention to. If you want to be continued to be a dynasty, then you're going to have to make big things happen. It starts with beating a team like what Arlington is bringing next week with Luis Perez. If you're able to put pressure on Luis Perez like you did against Bryce Perkins, because look, I understand Perez is not necessarily a running quarterback. But guys, the least you can do is just to be able to keep him inside the pocket and not let him get outside. That's all you can do. Put pressure on Luis Perez and be able to win. So, I've already given you my UFL offensive and defensive players of the week. Guys, that is going to conclude our UFL postgame show. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for hopping on inside. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys coming in. By the way, hop in the call-in show, 225-892-2384. Make sure you leave your comments, questions, and concerns. We will be back tomorrow to break down all things college football. Got a lot to talk about then. Jalen Milroe got an invite to the NFL Combine. We'll talk that. We'll give our way too early previews of what to expect for this upcoming weekend around the UFL. Really excited to see more action. Going to be a great season, guys. So we'll catch you guys. All right. Y'all have a great rest of the night. Thank you for joining in. See y'all later.